Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to my channel, Maths Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. Okay, here I'm going to talk about integration by partial fractions. Okay, and because I already have a video on partial fractions. Okay, so in this first set of this video, I'm going to just do a review of partial fractions. Okay, please go back to my videos, go to the channel and look for partial fractions. Then have a look at questions I solved on partial fractions. Okay, so I'm going to just review partial fractions. These are just standard. These are fractions that do not follow the standard types. Does that make sense? So we have to do a little bit tweaking to it to get a similar or break a big fraction into smaller fractions. Does that make sense? I'm going to just do a quick revision with this question here. X plus 1 is equal to x squared minus 3x plus 2. All right? Okay? And the thing here is that it's very important that you go back and review my video on partial fractions so that you can understand how we get partial fractions. Because moving forward from the next video, I'm not going to talk about the partial fractions. I explain it further. I'll just go straight to the integration part. Okay, so it's very important that you go back and have a look at it. All right. So let's say we have a question like this, and we want to integrate this. We want to do a partial fraction on this. It's going to be x plus 1. Then, based on quadratic equation, it's going to be x minus 2, x minus 1. Okay, I have another video on quadratic equations. Okay, so I will also want you to also go back if you're not confident with quadratic equations, and go and look at the video on quadratic equations. I did solve a lot on it. Is that okay? All right. So, and quickly, we have like about 4 or 5 types of partial fractions. Okay, and I talked about it in the previous video. All right. So I'm just gonna remind us on how to solve partial fractions. Okay, and like in this video now, with this example, for this kind of partial fractions, it's gonna be a over x minus 2 plus b over x minus 1. Does that make sense? So each of them have a particular particular value that you have to do. All right, it has a particular format you have to follow. So now we have this. So we have x plus 1 will be equal to, multiply both sides by the denominator here, and that will give you a x minus 1 plus b x minus 2. Okay, then we then have to now simplify. So I'm going to use the substitution method such that it is going to be very easy for us to solve. Okay, so I'm going to say let x to be equal to 1 so that this cancels out. Okay, so that will be left with b and this. So if you put 1 here, 1 plus 1 will give you what? 2 will be equal to 1 minus 1 will give you 0. So this cancels out. Then 1 minus 2 will give you minus b. Can you see? So therefore, b is going to be equal to minus 2. Okay. Now I'm looking for a. So I need to cancel out b. So I can make x to be equal to 2. So let's x to be equal to 2. Then that'll give 2 plus 1 will give you 3 is equal to 2 minus 1 will give you 1. That is a. And this will give you 0. So that means a is equal to what? 3. So therefore, we can break down this partial fraction now. So that means if we look at this partial fraction, so we can now say x plus 1 divided by x minus 2, x minus 1 is equal to a is what? 3 over x minus 2 plus b is what? Minus 2 all over what? X minus 1. So usually, because of its minus, okay, this minus can multiply this minus. It's going to be 3. Let me clean this. It's going to be 3 all over x minus 2 minus 2 over x minus 1. So this is the partial fraction for that. So if you solve this, it should give you this as well. Is that okay? Okay. All right. We're not here to talk about partial fractions. We know how to do that. All right. Now, we're talking about integration of partial fractions. So if, for instance, you're given this kind of question now, and instead of asking to do the partial fraction, you were told to integrate x plus 1, the same question we just solved, x squared minus 3x plus 2. So that means the first thing you have to do, you have to first break it to partial fractions. Then you now apply the rules we talked about in the previous video series. Now, but there are 4 types of integration with partial fractions we're going to talk about, okay? We have the first one, what we call integration with linear factors, okay? With linear factors such that, example, this classical example where we have something like a all over x minus 2 plus b over x minus 1 when we solved this in the previous slide, right? This is what we call linear factors. Now we also have another one that we call the ax plus b squared factors, okay? So these are things like when you have something like x squared divided by, let's say we'll have something like x minus 1 and x plus 1 squared. Can you see? Now this is a linear factor. We just solved this one where we have something like x plus 1 divided by x minus 2, x minus 1. Can you see? Now, let's say we have another one, ax plus b cubed factor. It's another one. So from the name, you can assume these are questions that when you have the x plus 1 cubed as part of the denominator, okay? And the fourth one is what we call the quadratic factor, okay? It's what we call the quadratic, okay? We call the quadratic factor, okay? So quadratic factor is like we have like ax squared plus bx plus c. So the denominator has something like that. So we have something like x squared divided by x minus 2, and we have x squared plus 1. So you can see there's a quadratic factor here. And these are the 4 types of integration with partial fractions. Is that okay? So we have the one with the linear factor, something like this. The one with the ax plus b squared factor, something like this. The one with the x squared over x plus 1 cubed, the cube factors. And we have the one that's a quadratic factor. So we're going to talk about each and every one of this, okay, in the next video. So I'm going to first start, each video is going to be for each of them. So I'm going to first start with the linear factor, and I'm going to solve that. I'm going to then go to each of them, and I'll just go through the numbers. I'll go in this order as well. Then after I'm done with this, the next video I'll talk about integration of trigonometric functions, okay? I think that will be the last part for the integration videos, all right? So, quickly, what we talked about in this video? So like I said, you have to go back and review partial fractions and see how to solve them, and as well as how to solve each of these types with partial fractions. So if you look at my previous video, I've talked about each of these types of partial fractions and how to solve them. So what I want you to do as well is to go back and have a look at those previous videos I've uploaded, and have a look at this. But we're going to go straight to integration, how to integrate this kind of fractions, okay? So I'm going to start with the next video on linear factor. So feel free, if you have any question, let me know. Don't hesitate to put a comment there, and don't forget to like and subscribe as well. All right, so I'll see you very soon. Thank you.